Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolberger. Welcome to this week's KFIR Middle East Update. It is the week of September 17th. So without further ado, let's sort of jump into the news bite sections and then take a look at what our major articles are for this week. YouTube, TikTok, social media, it's amazing. It hasn't been taken down yet, but there is a video of Palestinian rioters from a Samaritan town. They previously had burned a makeshift Nazi swastika, and now they actually have a effigy of a Orthodox Jew sitting in a chair that they've doused with gasoline and have set on fire. Again, with all that's going on in Israel today, the boiling cauldron or whatever, it's amazing that it's not taken down, no coverage, the world remains silent. The IDF has responded to rockets once again being fired from Gaza into Israel, targeting Hamas military compounds. All of this because the 6 escapees from prison, 4 of them have been captured. And so it's Hamas's way of saying, how dare you capture these prisoners? And they are heroes of us. And so they launch rockets, and of course, Israel retaliates. Big day coming up from Naftali Bennett, the head of the paper-thin Israeli coalition government at this time. He will be opening the UN General Assembly on September 27th. He's expected to discuss regional security, the Iranian threat, and of course the Palestinian conflict. So once again, Naftali Bennett center stage here in the US at the UN. Highly recommend Joel Rosenberg's new book out, Enemies and Allies. And one of the things that he hints towards with Russia and Iran and Turkey coalescing and forming an alliance. He documents this in his new book. But he asks a simple question is, are we seeing a prelude to the prophetic Ezekiel 38-39 war of Gog and Magog? And especially we have an article coming up here, The Decline of the US. Is this vacuum being filled with the combatants that we read about in that upcoming war, the prophetic war of Ezekiel 38-39. Now, our main articles, I once again always need to remind you to make sure you grab the PDF PowerPoint, photos, much more substance to the articles that you can see there. They accompany the YouTube video. So this is entitled The Red Line. Biden's surrender to the Taliban, according to Rosenberg in his book, is stated that it's the greatest TV propaganda ad for radical Islam that there's ever been before 9/11. The Ayatollah, you have to keep in mind that Iran's Ayatollah, he wants a nuclear 9/11, a catastrophic event, jihad to the highest degree. He simply doesn't want to take out skyscrapers in the United States. He wants to take down cities. And the question is that under Biden, under this administration, at least from the perspective of those allies of ours in the Middle East, do we have the strength to face him down? Israel and the Arabs, the Arab world, are nervous. They see weakness in Washington. And it's emboldening our enemies. And so the question is that if the U.S. backs away, Israel and our Arab allies are going to be on their own. Another article that's just basically the red line TikTok that's just out. We've been covering this every week, but once again, Iran is now just 1 month from having enough nuclear materials to produce its first atomic weapon. This is according to the new IAEA report that's detailed in the New York Times. Now, it still might take a while for them to come up with the technology to attach it to a cruise missile or a ballistic missile. But the bottom line is that the report raises concerns that this is now the closest a Shiite country has ever been to acquiring a nuclear weapon. And 1 month now, red lines. US, where do we stand? Israel, where does it stand? It's all being squeezed together. And again, as I said, the cauldron is bubbling. And now we look at 9/11. That's now in our rearview mirror, and our good friends, the Taliban, right? Our trusted friends, in a bitter and cruel act of defiance against the U.S., the Taliban appears to swear in their new government on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Let that sink in. On the anniversary, when the allies of the U.S. are having a memorial, the Taliban is swearing in their new government. Remember that 9/11 cost the lives of over 3,000 people here in the United States, in New York and Pennsylvania and Washington. Kicking us in the face. No way around it. Keep in mind, some of those that are on the Taliban's government are on the U.S. terrorist watch list, the FBI's most wanted list, and are under U.S. sanctions. Our new friends. Next article is labeled 3,728,600 reasons regarding why these captured prisoners went back relatively quiet. You have to understand these 4 prisoners that have been apprehended, and it's just a matter of time until the other 2. Take my word for that. One of the reasons that if you've seen photos of them, they're haggard. The good news is that all the help that they sought from essentially Arab Israelis, it seems like it's the Arab Israelis that led to their capture and the information they provided to Shin Bet. But keep in mind, life in Israeli prisons, even maximum security, is a pretty comfortable life. And they've accumulated, this is that number, massive salaries for their families. According to calculations made by the Palestinian Media Watch, they have already paid these 4 a minimum collective sum of $3,728,600 shekels, which equals about $1.16 million. Why not go back? Interesting article that I pulled quotes from both former Senator Joe Lieberman and my friend Amir Safate, kind of in reflection of Rosh Hashanah, and yet looking at the divisive world that we live in today. Lieberman said, the U.S. today is less united, less secure, less law-abiding, less respectful of government, and less confident in the future than at any point in my life. He goes on because of the high holy days and says, it needs to be jolted from its current course by the sound of the shofar and to try to find a better way forward. My friend Amir just wrote, and this has cut me to the quick. He says, I've never seen the church more divided in my entire life. I've never seen families more divided. I've never seen friendships so easily broken as if they don't matter anymore. This is the atmosphere of the world today, where Satan is running hog wild, setting brother against brother. Some have asked the question, as we were mentioning with the rise of the alliance between Russia and Turkey and Iran, where's the U.S. fit into all of this? And there's an article that was out in the press about the end of the USA, and part of it has to do with this COVID, with this mandate, Biden's vaccine mandate, and the uprising that it's caused. The article essentially says that COVID-19 vaccine and mask mandates have appeared to turn into the ultimate government control weapon and is fastly becoming the most overreaching government in the United States' history. Leaving debate over the efficiency and the need for the vaccine, putting that all aside, the American government under Joe Biden is using it as a weapon to pave a path to total control. The problem is that America's not that easily subdued. There's a host of red states, governors that are not about to jump on board. Bottom line, something has to give here in the United States. Either the resistance will grow or the government will just stamp it out. Either way, the path forward appears to mean, and here's the name of the article or the title, the end of the United States as we know it. What times we're living in. Green passport, as I sort of wrap up the last few things. In Israel, they have what's called the green passport. And then on a hot mic, the Israeli cabinet minister was caught saying essentially that the green passport really is meant to incentivize people to get the vaccine. It doesn't do anything to lower infection rates whatsoever. And so, bottom line, it's a manipulation and a control to get more Israelis vaccinated. And then, interesting, today is Yom Kippur. And if you know anything about the history of the 1973 Yom Kippur War, you realize that Israel was caught literally with its pants down. In Israel today, I've given you some photos of this. Everything shut down. You'll see a picture of the airport at Ben Gurion. You'll see the freeways that are usually bumper to bumper into Tel Aviv. But from news from Israel, on Sunday, the Israeli Air Force struck Hamas targets in Gaza in response to those rockets. And then today, or earlier today in Israel, there were jets flying towards the Lebanese border, and it's unclear what's taking place, but it's very unusual to have any sort of military activity on Yom Kippur. So I wanted to report that at this time, as keep your eyes and ears open. And then it's been a heavy message this week for the update. I want to encourage you. My last article's got some red elements to it as well, but I want to encourage you to check out the PDF that I have available about Yom Kippur, and it's called The Mystery of the Red Cord. I want to end on a happier, positive note. So that's our Middle East update for this week. God bless you, and much shalom to you all.